Welcome to Rural and Business Modeling for Digital Platforms, targeting services in rural areas. This episode will get you going on the work with the platform canvas. We will be focusing on the first two steps in the recommended working order. These steps bear quite some thematic similarities. As you will recognize, the same kind of elements occur on both sides. But the target group are different for the sides. We will be talking about the producer and consumer sections, or sides if you like. When working with the canvas, we will provide you with a Miro board, where you will have templates of the canvas, where you can use digital stick notes in a variation of colors, and you will also be able to connect them with lines, arrows and frames, etc. Also important to remember is that your work can consist of many canvases, or at least more than only one. In the end, it should be summarized into one canvas, and one adaptable pitch story on your business model. But with respect to ease and overview in the process, it is absolutely doable to use several canvases. Let's kick off. What we first will try to identify is the consumer segment. What kind of target groups do you have for your planned platform? How can you best describe them? Who are they? What's their persona? What are their needs, and how do they wish to find solutions for those needs on the platform? What is important for them? Where do they live? Working in these elements is much about asking questions, trying out answers, and describing situations. As in any persona work, try to be as detailed and precise as you can, still balancing not to become too narrow. As you identify and describe your potential consumers, can you identify relations or connections between them? Do they experience common gaps or needs? Can you perhaps group them together? Are some of them also potential for being on the producer side? Remember that this is much a diverge and converge work. Dive into details, and then zoom out for the greater picture and possible new angles. Do not try to be finished with any of the elements. Leave it as is for a moment, move forward in the process, and then go back to check relevance, and perhaps find new angles to play with. Moving on to the consumer value propositions. Value propositions will be the element that we expect you to spend the most time with. Thought through, precise and validated value propositions are the foundation upon what you will build your business model. How do you meet the needs and expectations that comes with your consumer segments? How do you explain and deliver your core values and desired experiences? Again, group, do connections, etc. But most of all, be meticulous on how you express and target your value propositions. Finally, in the consumer substitutes, you should list the way that consumers solve this today. What kind of competitors do you have, digital as well as manual, and very simple? How do these compare with what you try to do? Here we will bring some help, by urge you to use a matrix that we provide on the Miro board, for a more substantial comparison to your solution. The inventory of substitutes can also bring one or more baselines on how monetizations can be executed. Looking then at the producer side. As said in the introduction to the consumer side, you will recognize the same elements on the producer side. Also here, you will start with identifying your producer segments. Who are they and what kind of services do they have to feed the platform with? A suggestion here is to, rather than describing the companies, focus on the services provided. As for the consumer segment, try to describe needs, challenges and lack of opportunities that these services and companies have. This can be for specific target groups, specific markets or regions, preferably the ones that you aim to target in your consumer segment. On the producer side, it is also especially interesting to already now start looking at packaging services together. This can, for example, be by supporting a single producer with planning and scheduling, making them reach more consumers on one travel. Or even combine different services into one by adding logistics and transport, for example. Explore and play with possible connections of services. This is also a good exercise for the converge and diverge views that we knack about. Precisely the same as for the consumer segment, as you identify and describe your potential producers, can you identify relations or connections between them? Do they experience common gaps or needs? Can you perhaps group them together? And in the same opposite way, are some of them also potential for being on the consumer side? Let's talk a little bit more about that. In a platform business model, that is double or multi-sided, such switches can absolutely occur, meaning that an actor or function most frequent or active in the producer segment can also, under certain conditions, actually be active as a consumer on the platform. It is important to acknowledge and understand this. Therefore, you can in some cases describe the same actor or function on both sides. If so, then be even more meticulous in the description of these occasions. Jumping over to the producer value propositions. Spend time on this. Make them precise and validated. Most important for the producer segment is perhaps ease of onboarding the solution, problem solving, and your way to reach the targeted group. Then we land in the producer substitutes. List the way that the producers handle this today, and make comparisons with your solution. Listen in on what they find problematic or not covered in today's solution, and try to target this in your value proposition. Here you can use the matrix on the Miro board as a help in the comparison. Remember also to try to monitor how substitutes charge for their solutions. So now you have been given a first introduction to steps 1 and 2 in working with the platform canvas. It is a lot of important parts to take in these steps. Now please try this out. Play and experiment with it. Focus first on diverge on information. Slam it down with sticky notes, involve others, and have a real brainstorm on opportunities. Then converge and summarize, before you diverge again. Don't be afraid. Next time we will move further to steps 3 and 4, the interaction and the facilitation. As always, if you have any questions, please send Henrik or Ola an email, and they will get back to you. See you next time.